Hi everyone, it's Melissa here again. Now I'm just doing a bit of a tutorial today on how I go about taking a book and removing the pages and filling it with junk journal pages. It's one of my favourite methods of making a junk journal. So let's get started. So you can see with this one that I've made, I like to keep the end pages and put them back in. I think it gives it a nice finished look, but if you can't get them out of your book without ripping them, then pattern paper works beautifully too. So that's what we're making. So I've got myself just a book from the op shop. It's quite strong cover on it, and the end pages are in good condition, so I am going to try and keep those. So the first thing we're going to have to do is cut the bulk of the book out of the cover. Now these do have a floating spine, so they're not stuck in. So just take your craft knife or whatever you have, and you just want to be really careful not to cut through to this part of the spine. So you're going to hold it quite out and just really gently. Now I've got a really sharp knife, I just put a new blade in it, so it's only gone through one layer there, so you really gently just want to go through the next one as well, and that's come out really cleanly. So for the back, just do exactly the same thing, but for this I like to put the cover right back so there's no chance of cutting that whilst I'm doing the other side. So I'll just run my knife straight down there. They don't all come out this easy. This is a good one. So there we go. There's our cover. So I'm just going to tidy it up a little bit. Just be careful not to cut through. Tidy up those edges a little bit. Okay. Now I do want to keep the end sheets here because I want to put them back in. They'll go over here. And that one's a little bit crooked, so I can probably fix that while I'm going. So I'm just going to tear those out carefully. They often come attached with the other page. We'll take care of that a bit later. And go to the other side. Okay, now with the book, got some lovely pages there to use within your junk journal. And some of these actually, this one's a little bit, but some of them actually have the colour of the spine on the pages, so they can look really nice in your junk journal. But we'll put that one aside for now. And we'll put our end pages aside. And we'll get working on this journal. So what we want to do is, the spine is a little bit flimsy at this point, so we want to reinforce that a little bit. So what I've got is some kitchen tube, like you know that your kitchen roll comes on. And I'm just going to cut a piece to fit into that spine. So we'll measure across. And I'm just going from the inside of both sides, so when that book is up like that, and it's about an inch, so I think an inch would fit in there quite well. And we're not going to go right to the end, we're going to go to where the end pages come to. So we're looking at 7 1/4 inches there, so put that aside. And we want to make this an inch. It doesn't matter if you flatten this out, it will curl right back up. And we don't have much of a curve in this book anyway. So I'll measure 1. down there. And we want 7 1/4. So we'll measure that. Just cut that little bit off the end. Okay, so let's see if that fits in nicely. Yeah, and that fits in really well. Now, because we're not going to see these bits here, we're going to stick over there. Now, you can use masking tape or just some sort of strong tape, but I like to use gummed tape. Now I use this when I am watercolour painting and stick my canvas to my board. It's got a really good hold and it's easy to use because you can just tear it. And so what we'll do is I'm just going to roll a piece off that's about the size, like this, and I'm going to put 2 on. Alright, so take this bit, excuse me. Now I'll take my spray bottle, which is disappeared from my desk. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're just going to give the gum side a spray with water. You only need a slight bit. You don't want to wash all the gum off it. And we're going to put just down there like that. And you will probably find that you'll get some on the mat. That's okay. Now we'll wet the other one. Oops. Just a bit of the spray. And we'll just slightly overlap that onto there like that. And it does dry fast and it gives a really good strong hold. Now we'll just cut off this end bit. Actually, I might cut it to an angle up to the, and then an angle down the other side, just to make sure we can't see that when we get it on. Okay, so, oops, it is rather sticky, so I'll get that out of the way. So, I'll get our book. Oh, it's really not coming off my fingers at all. Okay. Oops. And we're going to stick this right into the middle. Of our spine. I'm just going to make sure that it's in the right place. And then get in there to the creases. I'll use my bone folder for this. Just really get in there because you want your book to be able to fold quite freely. And then stick your edges down. Some gum on there, we can wipe that off later. Okay, so there we have our spine fixed into place, and like I said, you can just use a masking tape or some sort of sticky tape if that's what you have. Quite like the gum tape too, because it does give you that bit of movement when you put it on and it's not quite in the right place. You can move it around until it gives a good fix and it starts to dry. So that's reinforced our spine a little bit, so it's now much sturdier. I do like to put some clips on, if I can just grab a couple out. These aren't too big. And we'll just keep that in place while it dries properly. Okay, so while that's drying, what we might do is get our pages ready to go. Just get that one more press down. And there we go. So we'll put that aside. And I just love doing pages. Pages are fun. So I'm doing 2 signatures, and each signature has got 20 pages in, and I've just gone through and got different book pages and music paper, and envelopes as well I use. And I'll just show you how I did this, because I've got to do the other one for the other signature. So all I do is get my 2 envelopes and I just put them with a bit of a gap down the middle and go back to my trusty brown tape. I'll just give it a bit of a spray. So we just leave a bit in the middle so we can fold it in half. So we're just going to put that down like that. Flip it over. Now you've got that bit of play, so you can just move them around until you've got that even gap. And I just fold these over. If you really don't like the look of that tape like that, you can just either cut it straight and just fold a little bit over, or keep going and overlapping, but I quite like that raw edge on it, so set that aside to dry. But there is the envelope page ready to go. So I'll go back to the signature I've got ready. I'll just give that a bit of a wipe because I got a little bit wet. So this one's ready to go. I'm just going to go through, excuse me, and put them all in order. I haven't folded these. These are just white paper that I have just wet and slightly crumpled and left to dry. These ones were just air dried, but I do love the look of them when they come out of the oven. But this is nice as well. Now I've just roughly cut these. I try not to make all the pages exactly the same, because I do like, as you can see on this one, they stick out a little bit, and there's all different. They're all roughly within the same size, but slightly different as well. So I've measured my book. I'll bring it back over and show you how I did it. Get my ruler. So I just basically measured across here, and the pages are about 4.5 inches. So I want them folded. So I've doubled that to make 9 inches by the book height is 7.5. So I've cut all my pages down to be around about the 7.5 by 9 inches. There will be some slightly smaller and some slightly larger, and that just adds to the look of the book. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this. I did a big coffee dyeing day the other day and just did loads of paper. And I did some of these beautiful doily prints as well, which were super fun. So get those done. Okay, so now I've got 4 of those. I like to have some papers in the journals that you can write on. Don't all have to be pictures. I've got the envelope, I've got some book pages, I've got another paper bag here that I've cut the bottom off so it's a pocket on each side, a couple of music pages. So I'm just going to go through quickly and layer them. And as I said, I try to keep the plain ones every, 2 or 3 pages, just so you've got that bit to write on. I'll put the envelope in here. What have I got under here? I've got this gorgeous, is it pianola or something like that, sheet. It'll flatten down once we get it in. So I haven't even cut that to the same width, but that is fine because it's a page on each side. This is my book. I'll put another copy paper in. Actually, that one may need to be cut down a bit, so I'll just see how it goes at the end. What have we got here? I've got botanic page. I might put another white page in here. You can move them around too, depending on how you like it. I'll put that brown paper bag in. This one looks like it's come out of an old teacher's journal of some sort. Another page. Maybe this page here. Actually, I might put this one here. I love this edge here. We've still got some blank pages, so I might actually go back and put one where I've got a couple together, maybe in here. So I might put the white one in there. Oops, now I've got them coming out. I'll put that one in there. So keep an eye on what way you're putting them also. And we'll put this one the right way up. In there. So there's our signature. I think that one does need to be cut down. So I'll just keep them in order. Put that over there. I'm not even going to measure because I know it only needs to come down a little bit. So let's just cut it down a bit on the sides. Okay. And then let's slot it back in. Right, there's our first signature, ready to go. I'll just get the book cover and sit it in there to make sure that is going to be beautiful. It's just got that bit of overhang in the edges, and once the other one's in there, it'll give it that bit of bulk. So I'll go ahead and put the other one together. I might forward it through here so you don't have to watch me do all that again. Okay, so now we've got, oh, I love this paper with the old writing on it. Someone's done some hard work. So let's just see how they go in now. We'll take off these clips. Now when these are bound together, they will be a little bit tighter in there. Oh, that's going to be beautiful. Okay, so we've got it all ready to go. Now we're doing a floating spine in this one, so I'm not actually going to be doing anything to here. That was just to give it strength. So what we need to do to make a floating spine is get a piece of card like this. And we know that when we cut our spine reinforcement that it was 1 inch wide and 7.5 long. So we actually, was it 7.25? Let's see. 7.25 from end to end, end sheet to end sheet. So we want to cut this the same. Measure 1 inch. Put that back aside, and we'll measure 7.5, 7.25. So I'm going to get that wrong, aren't I? 7.25. 7.25. Just cut that bit off. Okay. Now this is what we're going to sew our signatures into. So we once again have to strengthen this up because we're going to put 6 holes in here for the signatures. And whatever you put on this side, you're going to see in the middle. So once you have your signatures in and they're sewn in, once you open the pages like this, you're going to see that bit down the middle. The card is fine. If you were making this and covering this book, whatever, you might like to put some fabric, but I'm just going to use brown tape again, because what we'll need to do is after we sew in the signatures is to stick it along here again. So you can use anything for this. You can use just tape or even a piece of paper and then just glue it in. Fabric is also good, it's nice and strong, but I am do like this brown tape, so I'm going to do exactly the same as I did last time. Just tear off. I think what I'll do this time is just put one down the middle first. I'll just give that a spray. And just put that on. Like that. And I want to have enough on each side to be able to stick down to the book when we're done. So, and I am making them too long because you can cut it off better than making it too short. So I'm going to put this, overlap it about halfway like that. And then the same on the other side. And that'll give that middle a nice bit of strength as well. So when we turn it over, when that dries, it'll be nice and quite stiff. And we'll leave that to dry. I actually do like to though, use my scissors, just fold the end over a little bit. Get a bit more of a nice finish on it. So cut these ends. Just give that a fold over like that. So this side here is the side that will be stuck to the book. and this side here is where we're going to put our holes, and this is what you'll see between the signatures. Okay, so get rid of these bits again. Take that away. Clean up a little bit. And we're going to make our template for put our holes in for the signatures. So for this, I'm just getting a bit of paper. Don't have to be a whole piece, it can just be a scrap piece. I'm just going to just get the height of that. Just roughly cut section. Let's get that bit off my scissors. Okay, so this is where we're going to measure where we put the holes in our signatures. So 7 1/4. So what I normally do is get my ruler and come down about 1 inch from each end. So I'll put a mark there and there, and then I just find the center point, which is easier just by doing this, fold it in half, put a little mark there. So that's where we're going to punch holes for our signatures. But before we do that, we're going to, it's not quite dry, so we might do the signatures first actually. So we'll just put that aside to dry for a minute, and we'll punch the holes in our signatures. Now this can get a little tricky. So what I like to do, we'll do one at a time. First of all, I go through and make sure that they're all kind of centered and where I want them to be, because there are some smaller, like this little page here. I'd like to just bring that up a little bit. So I'll just get them all pretty much in the right place. Oh, I love this book already. So I do that, and that's all pretty good for me. It's pretty even to the middle. You wouldn't always do your signatures this thick. I mean, you could do 4 signatures of 10 pages. This is the way I like to do mine. So there we go, sort of in the middle. Now I've just got an old book here that I use. You can see I've used it a lot to punch the holes. But the way that I like to do it, I've got to get if you've got just a pokey tool or an awl would be great. I like to get this old book, open it out so that it's a bit of a V. Sit my pages in there and open them to the middle. Make sure that all of the pages are right down there in that crease. And then what we want to do is put in our template. Now there's a bit overhanging each end. We want to kind of just get it in the middle. So I've got about 1/4 inch there, about 1/4 inch there. After I've got it in the middle, I just hold it like this. So this sort of gives you, that when you hopefully go through the creases of every bit of paper here. So we're going to do this like that. Now before I take it out, now that I've punched my holes, if I can get it apart again, I'm just going to take that out and I'm going to just clip it, because this will make it a lot easier to keep it in place when we stitch in the signatures. And I usually just do it on one side. I Okay, so there's one signature. The holes have come through beautifully along that fold. So we'll do the same with the other one. Just go through and make sure everything is kind of straight where I want it. Okay, that's my middle those. Okay, so make sure all the centres are down in there. Put in this template, and same thing. I've got about 1/4 inch each end. Oops. Okay, so now we'll put our holes in straight down there. Take that out. A couple more clips. Okay, and that one came through beautifully along the line as well. Alright, so we've got that ready to be sewn in. We'll need this in a minute. So now we'll take our... We need to measure this one because we need to line up the 1 inch from each end as before. So that should line up with this. Probably don't need rule, we can just use this anyway. Oh, that is still a little bit wet. That's okay. So we'll just do it again on this side. And there, and there. And one there. And now we just need to work out our lines that run down. So let's have a look. We've got 1 inch. So along the lines that we've drawn there, let's make it 1/4 inch in from each side. And that's where we'll put our holes for our signatures to be sewn in. So 1/4 inch in. Okay, so there you can see now we've got the 6 holes that we need to punch, so we're just going to go ahead and punch them. Okay, and you can see them come through on the other side. Okay, now we've got to sew our signatures to this piece, and then this piece will get stuck into the actual book. So let's get ready to do that. Got our little template. These are pretty handy just to keep for the next one. Put that away. So for the binding, my little box here, get some pieces, get a needle, but I'll just get it out of my box. Okay, so we just got a needle. Now, I've got no cotton thread left, so I'm going to use this, is it a crochet thread? But what I'm going to do is wax it, because It holds much better, it makes it stronger, and when you tie your knots, the knots kind of stick together so you don't have to keep putting the pressure on. So I've just got some beeswax and oops, I'm going to make my thread about 3 lengths of my signatures. Okay, put that aside. Now just to wax it, all I do is put it on the beeswax, hold it with my thumb and pull it through. And just twist the cotton and do it. I do it 4 or 5 times just to give it a bit of a good coating. And you can feel the difference when you got it done. It's nice and almost stiff like now. So I'll just cut off that end. Thread my needle. Okay, so we're ready to do the first signature. Now we want this to be the inside, so it's got to go against our signatures like this. So we're going to do just a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So the first thing we're going to do is go in this way and leave a pretty good tail of our thread. So start with our second signature here, and it's easy to find the middle when you've got the clips on. It's very handy. Now this part can be a little tricky, so we want to find that middle where we poke the hole through. Now with your finger in the middle, kind of poke it through. It doesn't always go through that easily, but that was pretty easy. So in there, it does help if you fold it because that's how you punched it. So then we're going to go through the top and out the other side. Like that. And just make sure you're on the right row here and go into that top one. Okay, so there we go, starting to line up. Now we want to keep on that same line and go all the way around to the bottom one. And back through that. There's that here. There we go. Now it's starting to pull in nice and tight there. And then we go back through the middle one. So I like to come out through the pages first. Now when we go back through the hole onto the spine, oops, my needle's come on thread. It's not going to help. Oh, always the way, isn't it? Okay, so when we go back through this same middle hole, I like to pull the thread to one side, try and get in under it. And when we come out, we want a thread on each side. So I'm going to pull that through, take my needle out. So now we've got the middle and a thread on each side. Now to make that nice and tight, I'm going to come and I'm going to pull these towards the centre. Not too tight, you don't want to rip your paper. And then just pull them out through there. So make sure that's a nice tight on your paper. Give it a bit of a tug. Now the wax thread is really good. Like when I tie this knot, it's going to hold there. I don't have to put my finger on to keep the knot nice and tight. It's just on there. I'll do another tie there. I'll cut that off. So then we're going to do exactly the same and put our next signature on top of those holes here. So I'll do this again. 1, 2, 3. wax. It's getting a bit used, this one. Sticking to itself. I'll do it one more time just to get a bit of a good coating on there. Okay. I'll just cut off that first bit that I was holding. Okay, we're ready to go again. So, now we want to make sure they're the right way. Make sure the lighting is the right way, yes. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to go in the middle. In the middle of our signature. Let's see if it'll go through as easy. Ah, yes. There we go. It's a bit tangled up there. And we'll go up through the top of the hole. Right through. Oh, don't lose your tail though. Through the top hole here. Then around through the last one. Okay. Get that in through. Now back through the middle. And I'll take it through the pages first. Now I like to hold that up so I don't split the thread when I put it through. Put it through. Put the other side of that thread so I've got one on each side. Okay. Now I've still got a loose thread here, so I'm going to go back to the middle. Pull them towards the middle, each side. Hold them nice and tight. And then pull them through. Make sure our signature's in there nice and tight. And not too much. Okay, so now I'll take the clips off. We have our signatures in. And when you come to the middle, that's that brown tape that we put in the middle. And this side of our spine is what is going to be now put into our book. But we're not going to actually put glue on this part of the spine. We're actually going to put the glue on each side of this. Now the gum, I've already wet that, and you know, if I wet it again it probably would stick, but I'm going to use glue. It's a water-based glue, so not only will it wet the gum, but it will adhere better with the glue as well. So we're just going to make sure everything is okay. Make sure it's all the right way up for a start. And to make sure that when we put our spine in, that all fits well, and yes, it is looking good. So now we can go ahead and put our, when I can get the right, I'm going to put glue all around here. Okay, I'll do one side at a time for this one. Once again, make sure it's the right way up. I'm just going to put it into the middle. You can line the top and bottom up with that piece that we put in to reinforce the spine, so you know you've got it okay vertically. And then we're going to rub that down. Get my bone folder. What I actually like to use, if I can find it here, oops, that is an old card. This is an old library card. Now I do this, it gets all the glue out from under it and just makes it really nice and smooth. I also like using this tape because it gives it a nice finish, because our end page is only going to come, you know, to there where the book folds. So getting that crease, and then we're going to put glue on the other side. Oh, I can hear that TV. My daughter's school's out, so my daughter is watching some sort of show out there, and you can't watch a movie quietly apparently, so ignore that. So now I'm going to do the other side. So you can see that meets up with the end pages really nicely. So go ahead with that. In those creases. Oops. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see in there, but the spine is really nicely up against where we reinforced it. So when we open this, you can see there is a slight gap in between where we sewed our signatures in and the spine, and that allows it to open all the way beautifully without buckling. Oh look, I've cut through. This is what I was talking about, when you have to be really careful, especially if you do have a really sharp knife. So I've actually cut through. When I cut my pages out, I actually did cut into there. So what I might do is I might end up either covering this, or I might just put some of that magic brown tape down, because it is a vintage book. So, you know, we'll see. I could even put a piece of fabric over the spine. That's a shame. But anyway, it's not lost, because as I said, we can do something about that. But we'll finish off first. So now we've stuck all that in. Now we want to get our end pages that we kept earlier. I've got this upside down. There we go. So I'm just going to just carefully remove those extra pages. Put those nice and flat. Sometimes these don't come out as nicely either, and that's okay, because you can either cut your edges straight or just leave that nice sort of raggedy edge. This has got a bit of the old glue on it, so I might actually cut this just a little bit, just that very edge. Get rid of that, and I think I'll do the same on this one as well, just to get that little edge out. Okay. So now we take our book, this is the front, we can just line this up. Now, as I said, this one was put in crooked, and actually the cover is not quite in, but that's okay. Let me move this up. So when I put this on, instead of following this end sheet, which is quite crooked, I'm just going to put it straight. So I'll start lining it up in that corner and line it up with my tape down here, and there we go. So we still do have this bit of brown tape, but it doesn't look odd because this is a vintage journal. If you weren't doing a vintage journal, instead of using that gum tape or masking tape, this is where something like a nice pattern paper or a piece of fabric or something like that would come in. So just going to glue I don't want to put too much glue. I don't want this to all buckle. Just going to put a bit. I'm going to spread it out. It's mainly the edges that you really want to get. Okay. Now I'll line this one up, like I said. And top and bottom down there. Good press down. You could use tape for this also, whatever you have that you like to use, as long as it gives a nice strong hold. So there's that piece in, and we'll do the same with the back. So just make sure that all lines up nicely before we go sticking it in. It does. Oh my goodness, that TV is so loud. Okay. Put that in like that. It really does finish it off nicely. But like I said, if these end sheets, if you couldn't save them, because not all the time they're in good condition, if it's a book well used, pattern paper or any of the papers from your journal works lovely as well. So there we have our finished book. There's our beautiful pages in here. Like I said, lots of blank ones that you can write on and such. Our envelope pockets we made. The paper bag pockets. So pretty. Well, I hope you have a go at one yourself. And if you have any questions, please write them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thank you. Bye.